Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sunday interview. I'm your host, the Joester, Joey. Nice. Rennie, you got to forgive me. I'll do
It's all
14
good,
of
man.
these.
I got
Okay.
a I got a podcast too, man. So it's totally I totally
Yeah.
get it, man. It's all good.
Our first guest of the year is Mr. Rennie Curran. Mr. Rennie, how you doing today, sir?
Man, doing great. Glad to be on. Glad to be alive and pumping in 2021.
I hear you on that. It was one hell of a year. We do
Yeah.
have a surprise guest host today. He's part of the CTS family. He's the host of his very own talk show. I know everybody's saying, why did you plug the Stingray show? And it's not on the CTS network. It's because I watch it. Ladies and gentlemen, the legend, the icon, the myth, the biggest college football fan ever in the history of college football, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Stingray. How you doing, Stingray?
Good, man. Thank you, and Happy New Year to both of you guys.
Yes, sir. You too.
You know, I know you like all SEC, but I'm an Alabama fan. But personally for me, I love Georgia fans. I got nothing against Georgia fans. I really don't got nothing against any football team in the nation except for one team. And I'm not going to name their team because they're not really a team. They're like a little bunch of little kids playing football when they get on the field with a bunch of guys. But anyway, Georgia. Stingray, go ahead and bust them out with some questions about Georgia.
I sure will. All right. First off, Rennie, let me ask you this. With your playing days, can you tell us a fun story about Mark Richt on the field or off the field?
Nah, that's a great one to kick off. I always get asked that. And what most people don't know about Coach Richt, man, is he's one of the most down-to-earth guys, just like that father figure. Of course, he's passionate about the game of football, but at the end of the day, he's about building men. And one of the coolest things Coach Richt used to do is like we would think like we were getting ready for practice. At certain times, it would be in training camp. Everybody's beat up. Everybody's focused on the season. And we would get to that point where, we're starting to fight each other. We're starting to go crazy. And he would just surprise us at times, man. Like we supposed to have this 2-day practice, but he, all of a sudden just say, hey, guys, we're going to the Ramsey Center. Ramsey Center was like where you got the pool complex and, the swim team practices there. But we just go and have a pool day and just jump it off the high dive. And he would be the first one up, I think it was like 30 meters or something like that. And he would do like a backflip off the 30-meter high dive, which was crazy. I tried it once and belly flopped and the rest of the day was ruined. But he just used to do a lot of fun things like that, man, that really changed up the morale and just really made it fun. As you guys know, college football is a grind, man. It's a 12-hour job, and most people don't realize that because a lot of times when they see us, we're just on the field and, you see the highlights from Saturday's games and things like that. But day-to-day, just being a student and an athlete and all that, it can really be a grind. So he would just throw fun things like that in the mix, and it would just really, like I said, boost our morale and really build that camaraderie and build those relationships, man, which is something that is special now. After all the plays are done and wins and losses, like that's what matters most is those times like that you have fun with your teammates. So that's what I remember most about him.
Awesome, man. That's really good. All right, next up is going to be, obviously, at the time of this recording, the Georgia Bulldogs are here in just a little while are about to take on Cincinnati in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Can you kind of give us a preview of that game from your perspective?
Yeah, when I think about this Bulldog team, man, it just where we are as a status, like for college football, man, it's been an extremely tough year, and this team has had to battle, just like everybody else, right? Has had to battle a lot of adversity, a lot of ups and downs, from like not really having a full off season to, you know, the COVID pandemic, to everything that's been going on in society with, you know, social injustice and all those types of things, man. So it's been a really, really crazy year. So just to see this team's growth and the fact that we even had a college football season, you know, I'm just excited to see this thing wrap up, which I didn't even think it was going to make it this far. So this team is full of talent, you know, and we've got a new quarterback, JT, who's stepped in and who's been able to make some big plays, and it's really been the highlight of this season so far. Just after all the kind of inconsistencies, we brought in a new offense coordinator. We've had a lot of changes at the quarterback position. So now to see somebody step in there that's a gunslinger and has been able to put up some consistent numbers, it's been great. And we got the talent at wide receiver, at running back. You know, we've been pretty solid on defense for the most part the entire year, from the front seven to, you know, the defensive backs like Richard LeCount. So now it's just time to, I feel like, finish up this year strong. We're of course, just like a lot of teams, going to have some guys who have chosen to opt out of this last game to prepare for their NFL career, which I totally understand. But at the same time, you know, I think this game is great. It gives you the opportunity to kind of see what's in store for the future for this University of Georgia Bulldog team. And honestly, I don't know a whole lot about Cincinnati, so I'm going to be excited to see. And it's kind of hit or miss with the teams outside the SEC, or, you know, the teams that are kind of that lower T, middle of the pack. So, you know, I know they're going to have a chip on their shoulder at the same time, though. You know, anytime you play University of Georgia and Auburn, you know, that's your chance to really showcase yourself. So
excuse me, we don't say that name here.
Right. Oh, that was the team you're referring to. I got you. So yeah, they are definitely gonna have a chip on their shoulder. So it should be a good game. Hopefully, it doesn't turn into, you know, a gunfight. You know, 40 points or anything like that. Our defense can hold things down. But yeah, I'm expecting to see a good game.
And lastly, for this segment, you were on the team that played Hawaii in the Sugar Bowl, correct? Talk a little bit about the hype going into that game with them coming in undefeated, and then the game itself.
Yeah, so they had another, you know, great quarterback who was a gunslinger, and they had a lot of hype coming out of their, you know, out of their league. And you know, the big talk was about just them matching up against our defense and all the playmakers that they had. But it was really about that quarterback who had put up, you know, ridiculous record numbers. I can't even remember his name right now off the top of my head, but that was the big hype, and we knew it. We knew at the same time, though, that we brought that speed from the SEC, that you know, if we just played our game, if we did our thing, took care of business, that we're gonna, you know, really make it a long day for them. So you know, and we were hot at this time. I mean, got Matthew Stafford, no Sean Marino, AJ Green. Well, I think AJ Green came in that next year, but we had who else was on that team? Muhammad Massaquoi. Yeah, it had Denna Ellerbe, Asher Allen. I mean, a lot of great players. Geno Atkins, who's with the Cincinnati Bengals now. Justin Houston was on that team, man. So a lot of talent. And we had that was the same year where we ran on the field against Florida and beat Tim Tebow, and then had the UGA Auburn blackout game. So, you know, that game was just kind of something that brought everything together from that year, man. We were probably the hottest team in the nation. I really believe that year we should have played in the national championship, but of course they didn't have the system that we have now, the playoff system. But yeah, the game was amazing, man. Just playing in New Orleans, and everything leading up to that game was just awesome. And we went out there. I can't even remember how many sacks we had on. Colt Brennan was his name. Yeah. I think I got like 2 sacks that game, man, but we ended up winning, man. And it just like really built that momentum for the next year. So that's what I remember most about that game.
Well, Joseph, I think we're going to switch now to what he's doing right now. So I'll turn it over to you to see what he's doing nowadays.
Stingray, you don't have to do that.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to keep that in. You know that, right? Stingray's a professional. When it comes right down to it, Stingray has taught me more And I've been doing this since June, July.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Stingray has taught me more just by watching the Stingray show
That's
and
awesome.
watching his one-time show on the CTS. But with that said, I was one actually was going on to the Coach Brennan hype train. I was on the Coach Brennan hype train. I did not know for that it was going to be like 41-10. I thought that
Yeah.
Hawaii may have do something, but you and your defense really
Oh
disappointed a
yeah.
lot of people who was on that little Rocky Balboa hype train called Hawaii. But
Yeah.
I have a serious question for you.
Yeah. What's up?
You're an entrepreneur, okay?
Yep.
And on this list of people of the CTS, you got 4 entrepreneurs in a sense. I mean, we may not have all big wallets like Stingray, but or Marvin Constant. However, my cousin Raphael, he's an entrepreneur. He's also an actor. Myself, I founded CTS. We all 4 own, we all 4 are owners of this, but this was my baby. The Carolyn's Treasure Shop was my baby. Marvin Constant, 40 plus strong, 2 books, Stingray, it's got the Stingray show. His name is a brand by itself.
Right.
What's your advice to a lot of young entrepreneurs out there?
That's a great question. I mean, number one, mentorship, man. I would say when you're starting out, the quicker you can find mentors and people who are basically doing what you want to do or what you see your business as at a high level, and you really study them and really get to know them and just be willing to ask for help, man. I think that's huge. That'll accelerate your growth tremendously. Focusing on not just building your baby and building your business, but think about how can you collaborate with somebody who's kind of doing something similar and learn from them, be under them. Like for me as a speaker, that's something that helped me, man, big time. Was as I was starting out early in my business, I reached out to on Twitter John Gordon, who wrote NEG Bus and has done so many amazing things in his world as a speaker and as an entrepreneur. And I was just like, hey man, like I'm early in this. I'd love to learn from you, see how we can help each other. Keyword, help each other. And approached it not in a way where I was just trying to get something for myself, but in a way where I could add value to him and he could add value to me. I think if you focus on that early on, like I said, you'll be able to learn from somebody because you'll be able to see kind of like their systems and get a blueprint from them and get that advice and most of all avoid a lot of pitfalls. So that's first thing, mentorship. And then the second thing, really surrounding yourself with the right team. Just like it's no different than football, right? Like you can't wear even though we try to and we have to in a lot of cases as entrepreneurs early on, wear every single hat. But the more you can learn how to delegate, the more you can learn how to really be efficient with your time. So not trying to do the social media and then run your business and then do your business and all those different things. I feel like the more successful you'll be. So those are 2 things off the top of my head that I would say to young entrepreneurs that can really get them started in the right direction. Mentorship, and then really, like I said, focusing on having the right team. So whether that's like a social media person, a video person, somebody to help you that's an assistant. And a lot of these people are out here, they may be in college, right? You can tap into getting interns and people who need that experience. So it's not so much having to go out and pay a lot of times, but once again, it's about collaboration. So yeah.
How important is family when it comes to reaching your goals? Like, I mean, look at yourself, man. I don't know if you understand how successful you really are. I mean, you was a top-notch college football player. You did a couple of years in the NFL. You played at the highest level. Now look at you. You traveling the country, speaking to young minds, trying to get them ready for the world. How important is your family in this process?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, I think first and foremost, your family kind of sets the tone of what's normal, right? Like they set those values and like those things that you believe to be true. So if you're growing up in a situation where, your parents are, maybe it's a single parent situation, or the parents that are in your life are extremely negative. They have a scarcity mindset. they're always telling you what you can't do, you know, or they're telling you about yourself in a negative way, saying you're never going to be anything. Like that can definitely take a toll on you, man. And that becomes your inner voice. And so for me, man, I had, you know, number one, a family that instilled the right values, man. Both my parents were Liberian immigrants who came here with nothing, man, and just built their way up. And so being able to see them work hard and make something out of nothing, man, like I took that same mentality, that work ethic, man, and that grind and that grit. That's what I took with me onto the football field. And then they also were people of faith, you know, so my mom always kept me in church, was always praying over me, was always telling me just encouraging things, man, just saying like, Rennie, you're going to be good. You're going to be all right. You're a leader. You know, all those little words, man, just meant so much. And she still tells me that to this day, you know, don't worry about anything, like just little things like that, man. That encouragement is huge, especially when you're facing those times of adversity and like you're in a situation where you don't see a way out. And because I know you mentioned that, you know, I was successful and achieved all these things, but man, like it was on that road to success. There were a lot of tough times, man. Like I can't tell you how many times, how much time I spent as a free agent, right? Like waiting on the team to call me back. I got cut 2 times, you know, all those things that happened. And even going to University of Georgia, I wasn't Georgia's #1 priority. I was considered undersized for my position. So I was kind of I was an underdog. And so throughout those times, man, where I had to wait on my opportunities to come and I was second string and, you know, I was being doubted, I had to have faith, man. I had to have that work ethic. I had to focus on my character. And that all started with my family, man, and the things that they instilled in me. So yeah, it's extremely important, man. Like that family situation. That's why I feel like you see a lot of people who reach a high level of success, and it's not sustainable. It's usually because it's something from their childhood, something from home that ultimately impacts them in the long run, man. So I can't stress enough how important that is.
Well, you know, I was talking to Stingray before the show, and we was talking about, you know, football. And I'm gonna tell you this: some of the hardest hitting people that ever hit me on the football field were 5'11", 5'10", 5'9", you know. So yeah, I guess when you get to that top level, which I've never played, but you know, Marvin has. He's told me some stories. A good friend of mine played at Ole Miss. He's told me some stories. You know, when you play at that top level, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, size matters, but when you get on a football killer, it's really who has that killer instinct. Now, I want to fast forward a little bit. I'm very intrigued about game changers because I'm one of those people that, you know, I always look for motivation. I love listening to motivation speakers. I love listening to Sean Harper. I love listening to Tom Robbins. I love Tony Robbins. I love listening to him, but I don't know his name. I love listening to people who, because in today's society, for me, especially with, you know, when it comes to politics, race, and religion, somehow that those 3 elements get involved, and I don't think they were designed to be negative, especially being a Christian. I kind of, you know, but politics and race, when they get involved, it's like everybody takes the motivation away from you. Somehow, some way, it gets to the point where society now these days tell you that you can't. What is your advice to people out there, especially these young minds who are listening to this negative influence outside? Either if you think it is the president or you think it is CNN, what is your advice to those people who still think today you can't achieve the American dream?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you got to focus on what you can control. Like there's only so much you can do in this life, man. And I feel like if you focus on your attitude, if you focus on maximizing the resources that are around you, if you focus on, you know, the team that you have around you, not just if you're on a sports team, your teammates, but your teachers, you know, your coaches, you know, those in your church, you know, if you go to church, just those around you, building those relationships, maximize every single opportunity that you have. You may not get exactly where you want to be, but you're going to be a lot farther than a lot of people. You know, it's a mindset. Success is a mindset. It has nothing to do with the government. It has nothing to do with politics per se. And yes, you're going to have certain things that hold you back or may impact you to a certain extent. But if you are persistent, and like I said, if you focus on relationships, maximizing your abilities, the talent we all have talents, we all have abilities. If you maximize that, man, you're going to be in a lot better position. And then also just things like self-accountability. I'm a big believer in self-accountability, like really evaluating yourself. A lot of times when you see people pointing the blame, like they're not taking that accountability of the things that they could control, right? And so I'm a big believer in that. If you like, I literally week to week to week, I evaluate myself. I ask myself, okay, what are my habits? How am I spending my time? What are my values and my priorities? And based off that, if I look at myself and I know that I'm falling short in certain areas, it's up to me. I can't look at anybody else. It all starts with me. And I feel like once you take that mindset and that approach and look at life like, man, if something's gonna happen, if something's gonna change, it's up to me. Like I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, your situation is gonna change. But if you allow yourself to become a victim to like everything around you, or to become a slave of like your environment, I'm telling you, you're always going to fall to the level of your environment and your circumstances. So you have to, number one, I feel like you have to have a vision for where you're going, whether that's being a business owner, whether that's becoming a leader in your industry, whether that's improving your family life. And number two, you have to have that constant accountability for yourself. So asking yourself, what are my habits? And, are my beliefs, are my habits, are my actions aligned with my vision, right? A lot of people want certain things in their life, but when you look at their daily habits, the way that they spend their time, the way that they treat people is not at all aligned with their vision. And so I have a saying when I speak, and the mantra that I have is operate at the level of your vision. So if you want to be a CEO, if you want to have an amazing family, if you want to be married one day, if that's your vision, now ask yourself, what does that vision require of me? Who do I have to become to make that vision a reality? And so from there, you start peeling back the layers, break down the habits. What types of books are you reading? What type of videos are you watching? Make sure that you're operating at that level before it even happens, because guess what? That the opportunities that come in life, there's no like sign that says opportunity is right here, grab it. Nah, it's going to come when you least expect it. And it's all about, are you ready when that opportunity comes? And it's few and far between. So you have to make sure, like I said, that you're operating at the level of your vision. And I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time before you get to that place where you want to be.
That's a great point there, Rennie. So thank you for that. All right, let's go back to your playing days a little bit. Now, obviously, we talked about your playing days at Georgia. Now let's focus on the NFL. Simply because, when we're down south, a lot of people focus on their NFL team as the Tennessee Titans. Talk about your playing days with the Titans there.
What? What? Whoa, back up. What? No. Rise up, man. Come on. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, my dream was definitely to play for the Falcons, man. But, when you go through the draft, anything can happen. And that year, actually, they were going to draft me. And they were going to actually draft me, but things switched around. The only reason I know is because I actually talked to a scout with the Falcons about a year ago, and I asked him to confirm it. And he told me that it was true. But basically, in that draft, you guys remember Sean Witherspoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big Spoon, yeah. So in that draft, what happened was in the first round, the Philadelphia Eagles traded up and they took Brandon Graham. And what was going to happen is the Falcons were going to take Brandon Graham in the first round, and they were going to take me in the third. But when Philadelphia traded up and took Brandon Graham, they took the next best value guy, which was Sean Witherspoon. So that ended up missing out on that opportunity, but got picked up by the Tennessee Titans. Thought I was going to be with the 49ers because they were the ones that were close. It was between me and Navarro Bowman. They went with Navarro Bowman. See, that worked out great. But that's what's crazy first and foremost about the league, man. It's just like it's such a small like margin of error, or like one small decision can really impact your entire career. Like, who knows? I may still be playing now if I got picked up by San Francisco, or if I got picked up by the Falcons. You just never know. And went out to Tennessee. Everything started out great. Second year, Jeff Fisher, who was the longest tenured coach at that time, he got fired. So you guys know how that goes when you get a new regime in there. And then on top of that, lockout happened as well, man. So first year was decent, man. Got some experience, mostly playing special teams. And then that second year, like I said, coaching staff got fired. They drafted 3 new linebackers, or they drafted 2 and then brought in 1 through free agency, man. And so basically once that happens, you become like a stepchild. So I got cut after my second season, even after I led the team in tackles. That's what was crazy about, to me, was just like the politics and different things that you face, and most people have no clue about. So, but it was a blessing in disguise, man, because once I got cut, I was at home for about 8 months, and that really put me in a position to really work on myself. And so that's when I really started getting into what I do now as an entrepreneur. A lot of guys, when they get cut, when they're back home, they train all day, and then they go home and they get on Madden and Call of Duty, and they, they just kind of sit around. Man, when I was in training for 4 hours, I was meeting with business leaders. I was going to workshops. I was reading tons of books on leadership and personal development and self-help. And I just started working on myself, man. And when I came out on the other side of that and eventually got picked up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I just saw the game from a whole new light, man. And it really set me up for success, where like when I did eventually retire, I was already a full-time business owner. And, unfortunately, I went to Tampa Bay, was starting with them basically the whole entire offseason. And then they drafted a guy by the name of Levante David. So we know how that goes. Just, timing, man. It's crazy how it works. But yeah, went out there. He came in, and by like the third day, they're like, Levante's going to get these reps. And that was it, man. Had no control over it. Worked hard, but eventually got cut. Went up to Canada and had some success up there. But like I said, the biggest, most important thing for me, man, was about maximizing that platform, which I feel like I did.
Yes. Well, from a player's perspective, talk about the difference of moving from college to the NFL. How difficult is it to make that transition there? Because a lot of people may not know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely difficult. People don't really realize how many different moving parts there are when you talk about going from college to the NFL. I mean, number one, you basically go from being a kid with a dream, right? I heard you talking about it earlier, Joseph, just about how these are 19 to 20-year-olds. Well, you're not much older than that when you get drafted. Like, take yourself back in your mindset of being a 22-year-old. I had just turned 22 when I got drafted. Right. And then now, put yourself in a position of being a CEO of a company at 22 years old, and ask yourself how successful you would be if you had to hire a CFO and you have to hire a CMO and you have to get an operations manager. Like, that's basically like what you become as soon as you sign that dotted line that says, I'm not coming back, or I'm leaving to go pro. And so, that for me was got to get the agent, got to get a trainer, got to get a nutritionist, got to get all those pieces in place to help me be successful. And then you still got like your off the field life, right? So it's not like these things change and you're just in a bubble. Like, when you decide to become that NFL athlete, you sign that dotted line for that contract, you got a lot of people in many cases looking at you, because you're a lot of times the first person in your family, especially being African-American, you're typically the first person in your family to come across this type of money. So it's like you got the weight of your family and the community on your back on top of that. So like at this time, my family was struggling financially. My mom had been paying most of the bills because my dad had lost his business. He was an entrepreneur as well. My church was in a pretty tough place financially as well. Just so many things were happening. I was a father as well. My daughter was about 2 years old. And so a lot of it wasn't just about football, man. It was about off the field. How do I just change things? Because we have been struggling for so long. And then, of course, there's things that you want for yourself as well. So that's just kind of gives you an understanding, man, of the weight of what you're facing, man, when you decide to become that NFL athlete. And then now let's talk about on the field in the building, man. It's a business. Like, they don't care what you got going on in your life. When you sit in that film room and they throw that playbook at you, and they put, install 5 different defenses and 3 different pressures in one day. Like, they want you to go out there on the field and do it like right away, and expect you to be like a machine, man. Like, no matter how you're feeling or what you're confused on or anything like that, like they really expect you to perform, and the pressure's always on you. And then imagine going to work, right? And at least once a week or every other week, you have guys who are coming in to take your job. Like, that's another dynamic of it, man, that just adds that pressure where that you got to earn that thing every single year. A lot of people think you just get that contract and you sign it and everything's good, but nah, you got to earn that. No, your contracts aren't guaranteed at all. So you literally, can go in that first year, everything be cool. You get that signing bonus. That next year after that, which let's say you got a contract for 2.4 or whatever, it's broken down, right? People think you get that full 2.4. Nah, you get, if it's 2.4, you might get 400, 450 that first year. Second year, you get 550, and so on and so forth. So just when you start to understand that you have to earn it every single year, you can be gone at any time. And then you see guys get cut that are better than you in a lot of cases. And it's not because of their playing. It was because they had to balance out the salary cap or something like that, or because they drafted a guy and, they put their name on the line to bring him there. Like it can be disheartening, man. I'm not going to lie. For somebody like myself that love the game, it can be very disheartening. But yeah, those are a lot of the things that you face, man, as a professional athlete that most people have no clue about. And unless your name is like Tom Brady or Ray Lewis,
yeah,
like it's extremely, extremely tough.
Yes.
Now, tell me more about Game Changers. I mean, so
yeah,
I know you didn't wake up one morning and say, "Hey, man, I want to be a motivational speaker."
Yeah.
Or I'm going to change people's lives. Tell me the process, how that got started.
Yeah, man. So like for me, I was always kind of in that leadership position, man, as an athlete. Like I was a lot of times a team captain, and I was very vocal for the most part. I was one of those guys who tried to hold guys accountable and tried to just become the best version of myself at all times. And I had to, being an undersized guy. Like a lot of what I look back now on, when I look back on my career, it was about personal development, man. It was about leadership. It was about, self-improvement. And that's what I always focus on. I was always thinking about how could I get 1% better every single day. And then another thing I realized too, as I was moving up, man, that it was about more than just football. Because as I got chosen out of Snellville, which was like a small town about 45 minutes away from Athens,
You don't have to tell me nothing about Snellville. As a private investigator, and my wife is from Snellville. She went to school at Brookwood High School.
That's why I went to school, man.
Well, see, you and my wife. Yeah, but it's so funny to me about Brookwood. I didn't mean to cut you off. I got excited, but that's the only town I know that is small but has 4 high schools.
Right.
Doesn't make no sense.
Right, man. But yeah, like just growing up there, being able to achieve the dream of going to University of Georgia, I realized like how many young kids were inspired by that, man. And that's when I started to understand by like my sophomore, junior year of high school that like I had influence. And so that's where it kind of started with me from being that speaker. Like I would go visit elementary schools and do book readings and just talk to them. And then as I moved forward, going to University of Georgia, and as my platform grew, I just started to understand even more the impact that I could have on others. And when I got cut, like I talked about before, from the Tennessee Titans, started working on myself, started meeting with business leaders, started reading self-help books. I started to understand that I could do something with my platform. I could be much more than just an athlete. And so that's when it really, the entrepreneurship process started with me. And I did start out as like that motivational speaker and just going into schools and just trying to help individuals. But as I started to work with more businesses, as I got my business degree from University of Georgia and started to meet guys like John Gordon, I started to understand how I could take the principles from the locker room and from the football field and apply it to business, how so many things were the same, man. Even as a linebacker, when we study teams and prepare, right, from the statistics to understanding their tendencies to understanding, how to look at formations and predict what's going to happen, right? That's no different than what marketing and sales teams does to prepare for how they're going to reach their target audience, right? And so once I started putting those pieces together, man, from like, understanding culture, business intelligence, understanding change management, and started to put really tie things together, I understand that I could add value to the business world. So a lot of my presentations are about, yes, they derive from my experiences as an athlete, but I really, really try to help organizations, teams, individuals to really improve their level of productivity, to, change their mindset, all those things that help me as an athlete, but can also help somebody in the business world, man. And like I said, once I put those 2 and 2 together, it became more than about just motivation, because anybody, can get you inspired and fired up. but it's like,
Yes.
do you have an actual strategy? Do you have an actual plan to execute? Right? If you don't have those things in place, then motivation is just, gonna be temporary. You're gonna be feeling good, but you're gonna go back to that normal status that you had before. So that was kind of my progression. And now, man, I love working with businesses, sales teams, with executives, and helping them get to that next level.
Well, I say motivational speaker, and the reason why I'm saying I'm not making a
Yeah.
mistake, because when you go out there and you speak to these businesses, yeah, you give them a plan, but you also give them motivation to be successful. I mean, trust me. When I started, I mean, it's hard. I'm proud of where CTS is now. But you got to understand, YouTube is pushing smaller entrepreneurs out of YouTube right now. It is not the time to start a YouTube channel. So
you need to go to TikTok.
Stingray is Toby. And that's the thing. I have 3 partners in this. However, like I told you before, my 3 partners are, got other stuff going on. Raphael just became a father. He's an actor.
Yeah.
He works a full-time job. I'm a private investigator. I work another job. Stingray is focusing on his brand, outside of CTS. And then you got Marvin's actually starting a clothing line he's the author of his own book. So everybody on this group of people that's on the CTS have stuff going on outside CTS. But with that said, I'm so thrilled. Now, I'm not saying we got over 1,000 subscribers, by no means. But when I started this, I had 6 subscribers. And there's one thing is a point in all this. It was funny to me how family and friends do not want to help you out. It's so easy to push a subscribe button on a YouTube channel.
All right.
And you'll go to like your aunt. Hey, did you subscribe to my YouTube channel? No. Or you go to your cousin. No. And they're not going to. Or you see people from, you'll post something on your Facebook page. You'll see somebody on your Facebook get like 400 likes because they said they got off the toilet today. But I'll post something on CTS. We got Kenny Smith from the New Orleans Saints coming on to no likes. Or, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's so, it's meaning, but it's also so discouraging how family and friends do not want to help out. So my question to you is, what would you say to someone who's a young entrepreneur, but they feel like they're by themselves? Like hey, look, you're not getting support from mommy and daddy. You're not getting support from family and friends. You're not getting, you're not getting support nowhere. It's just you busting your ass trying to get this thing out the. What is your advice to those people?
I'll give them 2 pieces of advice that come off the top of my head. First thing is you got to embrace the journey. You got to embrace the journey. And what I mean by that, man, is like, I don't care what business you see that's successful, what person that you see that's doing, seems like everything is great. They all started from somewhere. Everybody, you have to pay your dues. And that means like buying into the fact that, people aren't going to believe in you right away. Like, it's going to take time to really build that trust and for really people to buy into what you're doing. And then in reality, right, most people have a hard time supporting themselves and believing in themselves. So what makes you think they're going to really believe in you? And in your vision, they don't even believe in themselves. They 9 times out of 10, they're not going to believe in others like that. So you have to embrace all of that, right? That you may not be successful, but once you get into that idea that you just embrace it and you love what you do, and it's not about just your business. That's one thing that helped me, was not just focusing on my business, but focusing on serving others, right? Once you focus on just, is my product, is my podcast, is my book, is this going to impact somebody else? How is this going to help somebody else reach their goals? How's it going to add value to somebody else, instead of are people supporting me? Are they buying this? One is internally focused, right, about you, and then the other approach is focused on others. Once you know that your intention is right, once you know that you're going about it the right way, and that you have a powerful mission with what you do, it don't matter what if anybody supports you or not. That's how I look at it, man. And I just accept that. And once I know within myself that what I'm doing is for a righteous cause and I have a powerful mission behind it, man, I don't care if 2 people support it. I don't care if I just, like, when I wrote my first book, man, my goal was just to sell 1 book to just impact somebody's life, man. And I knew if I just did that, then I win. And that's what I told myself, man. And then another thing that really helped me was having an abundance mindset and taking that approach into my business. A lot of young entrepreneurs, when they're starting out, when it's just them, they have that scarcity mindset, which says that, man, nobody's liking my posts. Man, I did this, but it's not really working out. There's not that much opportunity. And when you take on that energy, man, people can feel that. It impacts your business. It impacts how, like, if you're on a sales call, it impacts that. But if you have an abundance mindset where you're like, man, there's enough people, there's more than enough people right in the 5-10 mile radius of my community that can reach me. If I just stay consistent, if I just focus on my craft and continue building, things are going to work out. It's just a matter of time. If you take that mindset, I'm telling you, people will feel that energy. And when you take that mindset that I'm here to serve, right? I'm here to add value. I'm going to keep doing this regardless. I believe in this. You have that confidence and that energy and that positivity. That's going to resonate with people. And I'm telling you, all it takes is one video. All it takes is one yes. And once you truly believe that, man, it changes everything. I heard the story of the guy who wrote that movie, or the Netflix series Queen of Gambit, how this man was grinding for 30 years and it's like just now becoming successful. Like, when I think about things like that, I'm like, that guy had to have an abundance mindset. He had to really, truly, like, believe in that thing. 30 years. So those are the 2 things I would say, man. Embrace the journey. Know that, it's not guaranteed that you're going to be successful. It's not guaranteed that people are going to support you. And that's all right. People are in their own worlds, right? But once you can embrace it and really focus on service, focus on influence, focus on adding value, and then having that abundance mindset, I believe things will work out, man.
During the process, and a lot of people got to understand, you got a lot of people that want to see you fail, just because that's just human nature. They don't want it. Like, I know for a fact there's some close people, of family members, friends, that just wants to see this fail, so they can watch me fall on my face. And that's what keeps me. To me, that's motivation. When I get a phone call from a buddy of mine, I was like, "Oh, so you're a YouTuber now, huh?" Okay, yeah. Cool. Because I know deep down that person wants me to fail. When I get like a family member, who's like, "Hey, so I'm not going to subscribe to your YouTube channel."
Right.
Great. 20 other people over here, just subscribe.
Right.
What I'm not missing you. So it kind of does motivate me. But you're not just a motivation. I mean, you're not just a speaker. And you're not just a motivational speaker as well. You're not just an entrepreneur. You're also an author. Tell us a little bit about Free Agent and another book that's I think is very important. What does it take to be a star?
Yeah, man. So I wrote Free Agent. I talked to you guys about how I got cut by the Tennessee Titans, man. And Free Agent was a book that I started writing after I got cut from the Tennessee Titans. I was back home in a place of uncertainty, not really sure what was going on in my life, man. Just really doubting, man. Like you said, I was in that place where, like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I know a lot of people were in that position this year in 2020. I was there, man, in 2011, end of 2011. And instead of focusing on me, and just getting down in the dumps and being depressed, I thought of, how could I take this situation I'm in and turn it into something that adds value to others? I know there's going to be people in the future that lose their job, that go through a divorce, that get out of college, even though they have their degree, that can't get a job right away, so they're back at their parents' house. So Free Agent is not just about football. I just use that term as an analogy to talk about, how do you approach life? How do you overcome adversity when you're in that time of uncertainty, when you're in that no man's land place in life? How do you maintain your self-confidence? How do you maintain your self-motivation? So that's what the book really talks about. How do you find your identity when you take away the job, when you take away that bank account, when you take away that relationship that seems like it's so special? Who are you, right? A lot of people don't know who they are when you start to strip away all those things that society tells you makes you who you are and gives you that self-worth. A lot of people struggle. A lot of people can't face themselves, and that's what 2020 did for a lot of people. It stripped them of a lot of things, and for the first time they had to really face themselves. And so that's what the book really talks about, just how you learn what matters most in life when you're in that position of being jobless, of being away from your norms. How to build yourself, like I said, once again. And it's a powerful book that's helped a lot of people, man. The second book, What Does It Take to Be a Star, was a book that I wrote in at the end of 2017. And I wrote it with my daughter, Ileana. She was about 8 years old. We wrote it together, man. And it's about a young boy who's on a journey to discover just what makes you special in life. You know, how do you reach that level of success? And so he goes and he talks to all the people he looks up to in his community. And they all give him, instead of telling him something that's generic or something that's surface level about their job, they all give him a different character value. So one tells him, the football player tells him about work ethic, about working hard while nobody's watching. A singer tells him about self-control, knowing when to use your inside voice and your outside voice. A firefighter tells him about being a servant, right? Serving others more than you serve yourself. An artist tells him about patience, about how every masterpiece takes time, and so on and so forth. So the book just really speaks to young kids just about having the right values, man, and just really believing in yourself when it comes to achieving your dreams. So that's the second book, man.
Well, if you are a recruit right now coming out of high school, name some coaches or a coach that you would ultimately love to play for right now.
Man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I mean, you got obviously great coaches out there, man. Let's see. I mean, at the end of the day, honestly, it's for me, it's not necessarily about the coach per se, because if you put all your faith in a coach, you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you sign up, guess what? That coach is focused on the next class. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you sign up, guess what? There's a chance, not saying that, all the coaches are like this, but there's a chance that coach could get an offer from somewhere else, or that coach could be in the hot seat that next year and he could be gone. So
shouts out to Lane Kiffin.
Exactly. Perfect example, right? Perfect example. So you can't when you're a recruit, you can't put all your faith and all your trust for the next 4 years of your life on a coach. Yes, you want somebody who you have a great relationship with and, who shows your best interests and things like that. But at the end of the day, it has to be about much more than that. Number one, is this college a place that's going to really develop you as a person? Is that coach going to really develop you as a man, not just as a football player, not just as somebody, that can prepare you to get to the NFL, which we all know it's a 0.008% chance of that actually happening. So number one, you got to think about 10 years from now, is this going to be a situation that really helps me? Like where, and this is what I tell recruits too, where are you going to live after you're done playing? You know what I'm saying? If you're going to live in Georgia after you're done playing, why would you go out to California? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And so you got to think about, when I want to get into the business world after I'm done playing, like the alumni situation, who am I going to be able to call after I'm done? And that's been one of the biggest blessings for me, man. Like after I was done playing, now the fact that I have a business, I played at University of Georgia and I have a business that's in Georgia, game changer. I'm able to leverage that. I'm able to maximize it. That's the most important thing to me, not necessarily just your coach, because there's a million good coaches out there that got good, good facilities, especially if you play in the SEC. It's apples to apples, right? But it's about those relationships, man. It's about the things that you can leverage after you're done playing that you really have to think about if you're that recruit. And if you're not thinking about long term, man, I'm telling you, you're gonna make a lot of times the wrong decision. That's what you see a lot of guys do. They'll go to an Alabama because they're winning the national championships and nothing wrong with that. But it's like, are you really thinking about long term? I'm telling you, because once that jersey comes off, it's going to be about that brand that you built. It's going to be about, like I said, do you have good contacts that you can reach out to that can help you get that job? Do you have a good support system? Do they actually let you back in after you're done? Like little things like that that are so important, man.
And my last question for you is this. Obviously, you're a motivational speaker, but a lot of Georgia fans right now are not happy with what Kirby Smart is doing. Some of them, are like, he's Mark Richt 2.0. Basically, that he needs to be let go, hot seat, yada, yada, yada. What is your message to Georgia fans right now that are a little bit unhappy with the way that things are going there at Georgia and Kirby Smart?
I mean, number one, I understand that frustration, right? Like when Coach Richt left, we basically wanted to be Bama. Like we brought Kirby because he experienced a certain level of success, and we brought him here with those expectations that we're going to have a national championship within the first 3 years, or maybe even that first year. And even if it was ridiculous to have those types of expectations, like they brought him here believing that, like that was really going to happen. So when that didn't happen, it hasn't happened till now, even though we brought in the 5-star recruits and, we've been close, like people are starting to lose their patience, because it's like, why would we just want to bring another Coach Richt? Like, no, that's not what we're expecting. And so I totally get it. At the same time, like I tell people all the time, it's a SEC, right? And like Bama is one of those rare cases where I mean, I don't know what exactly their formula is, what they're doing over there. I've never been in their building like that, but they're able to year out, for whatever the case may be, they're able to churn out certain levels of success. Whether that's because they focus on developing the full player or their support staff, or I don't know, but they have that rare ability to achieve that consistency. But at the same time, even Bama's faced some disappointments. Even they have lost, in ways that you're just like, dang, that should have never happened. And so when I look at Georgia, man, it's like we're right here, right? And you look at a lot of times, like when we did lose to even Bama, it came down to a few plays.
Yes.
And that's what I always tell people, like a lot of these big games, man, a lot of these like historic moments, it's literally just a few plays. Like that's how close the talent level is. And so if you're somebody that's like a Georgia fan or, Bama fan or whatever, like understand that, number one, these are, like you said before, these are 19 to 21-year-old kids. Like, I don't care how good the coach is. I don't care how good the system is. Sometimes it's just like that level of maturity has not reached yet. And that's sometimes what can hold those good teams from being great, because you have an extremely talented player who may not, these are kids who aren't just players. This isn't the pros where this is just their job. These guys have lives outside. When they take that helmet off, like life is real. And they still have to be student athletes. They still have to do other things, and not making excuses for lack of performance. But this is just the reality that the margin of error is so slim. And when you take into the fact that like these are kids, number one, and number two, they have so many things that they're facing in life. Like the coach can only do so much.
Yes.
And it's like when even though Bama makes it look like it's normal. But when you reach that level of national championship, like you got to have a little bit of luck. You have to have ridiculous talent. You have to have, guys that stay healthy, right? So all those little things have been the things that have really held us back. And so, like I said, I understand Georgia's frustration, because we did bring him here to win those national championships. But there's so many other factors too that go into winning that national championship and being at that level. So it's a lot more complicated and intense than it looks. And I could talk about it all day, but I think as Georgia fans, we have to, continue to be patient, man, and be realistic about the situation.
Well, Rennie, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and you've made a lot of great points. Would you please tell our viewers and followers where they can find you and some of your motivational speaking?
Yeah, sure. So if you want to get in touch with me, speak to schools, businesses, associations. I also work one-on-one with small business leaders. And then every once in a while, I work with athletes as well. But it's all about, like I said, leadership, performance, team development as well. So if you're looking for a way to really reach that next level, man, whether it's you're trying to launch your business, you're trying to improve your personal brand, trying to improve your mindset, you can reach out to me through my website, renniecurran.com. And then I'm also very active on Instagram as well. at Rennie Curran, on Twitter at Rennie Curran 53. And yeah, let's get in touch. I'd love to help you.
Yeah, we got to talk
man.
about the podcast. Just one last plug, because that podcast is very important. It's not just important to people like me, but it's important to people out there that are thinking about becoming business owners or thinking about becoming, successful, because success is a mindset. And this man right here, he's the definition of success, in my opinion. So tell us a little more about this podcast.
Yeah, man. So it's called the Game Changers Podcast, and it's up now. I definitely want to relaunch it this year with a whole new season, man. But basically, yeah, it talks about a lot of things you just mentioned about leadership, about entrepreneurship, about personal development in terms of like your mindset and your habits and different things like that. So I try to bring on, different professionals from different industries that can give just a different perspective, man, on reaching that success and becoming that 1% type of person that can achieve that level of success, man. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. Check out my past episodes. I got some really, really great guests on there, but I'm looking forward to bringing even more people on there. I have some athletes, but I also have business leaders as well who give you some great insights. So yeah, appreciate that.
Hey, Rennie, real quick, I do have one last thing to say to you since you were so nice to join us today. Go Dogs.
Yes, sir. I love it. Go Dogs.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, hey, go Dogs.
Come on, hey, there we go.
Listen, I ain't gonna lie to you. When it comes to the SEC football, I support all SEC football teams.
Same here,
except
man.
for Auburn.
Same here.
Yeah. For Auburn. But being honest with you, majority of Alabama fans got nothing but respect for the University of Georgia, and we definitely got respect for Kirby Smart. So to the Georgia fans right now talking about Kirby Smart needs to be fired, fire him. He'll come right back to Nick Saban. I mean, and win more championships. But with that said, you're a busy man. I don't have the words to tell you, because me and you, we've been in contact with each other for months now, trying to set something up. You're an inspiration, not only just to me, but I think to everybody in this country right now that's going through a lot. And you are the measurement of success that I want to see not only me, but a lot of other people reach. I want to thank you. I humbly thank you for coming on the show. I know you get offers all the time to go on different shows, and for you to choose something, choose us, it means a lot. And with that said, I want to thank you. I'm definitely can't wait to hear from you in the future. This ain't going to be the last time I see you, because we're going to have you back on. And with that said, we got to go. And for everybody else, I hope you have a happy 2021. And Rennie, Stingray, staying online. But everybody else, see you next Sunday.